Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Good morning, everybody. It is 17 minutes past the top of the hour. Welcome to Bartow's favorite Saturday show, Waking Up with Alan. Of course, you could argue it's the only show on right now, but it's great to have you here. And of course, your next favorite show is BK on the Air, so we just like to call it your guardians of Saturday morning. We just are here from 7 a.m. until noon every single Saturday. This is the last Saturday of the month. Great to have you along. The phone number is 770-386-1450. If you'd like to be part of the program this morning, would be great to hear from you if you've got anything on your mind. Happy Thanksgiving. It's in our rearview mirror, and it is official. Even BK has to acknowledge it. Merry Christmas, everybody, as we are getting ready to head into December. Just a couple of days left today and tomorrow, and we're going to be into the month of December. And it's going to feel like it weather-wise for you folks here in Northwest Georgia. It's going to rain you heard in the forecast, or the GNN Weather Girl saying that it was going to start raining maybe in the early morning tomorrow, maybe late tonight into the early morning tomorrow. But we actually have rain a lot this coming week. Periods where we won't have it, and then periods where we will, but it looks like nearly every day. And, there has been some weather models that show in extreme northwest Georgia possibility of some flurries or sleet, maybe. I saw one that said there was a potential setup for some freezing rain, which, of course, is never fun. And I don't care where you're from, you cannot drive on ice. It's just dangerous. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our first topic, though. We're not here to do weather and traffic. This is a show about what's going on the large-scale news stage. Remember when we were talking about Zelensky, when he first came into office? This was back when Donald Trump first came into office the first time around. You guys remember that? Remember that, what was it, the call, the perfect phone call Donald Trump said he had with Zelensky, because he was like, I want to know where all this money's going. Remember? And then the Democrats went bananas. You can't ask him where money's going, and you can't threaten to not send him money, and oh my God, let's impeach him. Remember that? Remember the first impeachment of Donald Trump? And then remember when Adam Schiff went out there and read a bunch of things that he had prepared and characterized the phone call as if Donald Trump had said a bunch of stuff. And then it became very well aware that when Adam Schiff took a little break, I don't know if somebody texted him, but the White House had released a transcript that there had been an official archivist who had transcribed the phone call, and they had the actual text of the call, and that actual text was being released on social media, and Adam Schiff had to come back into that hearing and have to say, okay, I may have exaggerated, I may have embellished a little bit, but he's still bad. Bad guy, bad. He's a bad guy, and that was about it. Remember, and then we had for how many years between Russia, and then we had the perfect phone call that was misrepresented and all the hoaxes of the first term, right? And then when the Joe Biden came in, and remember how he said to Vladimir Putin, well, if he rolls in and doesn't do a whole lot, we're not going to be able to do a lot to him. And we were like saying, wait a minute, what, you just giving Vladimir Putin a green light to invade Ukraine? And of course he did, right after the debacle that was the Afghan withdrawal. And then we started sending lots and lots of money to Ukraine. Remember that? Yeah, remember? Every time we turned around, just send them money. Well, where's it going to? We can't ask what it's going to. Remember, Donald Trump got impeached for that. We're just send them money. Now, I remember reporting on this 3 years ago now, maybe 4. about how many of the generals in and around Volodymyr Zelensky were driving like these, $200,000 sports cars. They were buying huge mansions. Their wives were going on these Swiss, vacations, just dining and buying and acting like they were royalty. And remember that there were people around Joe Biden that when they thought the cameras were not rolling, wouldn't just say, hey, not that there might be some theft and corruption within the Ukrainian government. He's like, I got to remember the guy's name, but he said, it's not if the money's being stolen, it's just how much is being stolen. Remember all the weapons we were finding on the black market? All these weapons we were sending in commensurate value. We would say we were sending billions of cash, but we were also sending billions in gear and weapons. And then we find out that all these like state-of-the-art systems are being bought by drug lords and drug cartels in Latin America because these generals in Ukraine were stealing the stuff and selling it. They were just basically, look at this. We're going to make millions of dollars. And at one point, remember when Zelensky, it kind of got some heat, and Joe Biden was like, dude, you got to do something. And they fired 10 of the closest commanders on the field for corruption. Do you guys, is any of this ringing any bells for anybody? Because I know I talked a lot about it. And they kept wanting to just send them more money, send them more money. And every congressperson, every senator that put the Ukrainian flag in their bio, we got to send them more. We got to fight Putin. More money, more. Well, I don't know if you caught wind of this in the last 24 to 48 hours. And I'm going to go to the Wall Street Journal for this one because, they don't like Donald Trump, just so you're aware. It's a publication that used to lean right, but they don't like Donald Trump at all. So I figure if I'm going to read something to tell you that, we were right again, I'm not going to go to Fox News. I'm not going to go to OAN. I'm not going to go to News Nation. I'm going to the Wall Street Journal. So if you guys have a problem with their writing all of a sudden, you can take it up with them. Headline: Zelensky's top aide resigns as corruption probe deepens. Oh, wait, Ukraine? Corrupt? No, come on. That's a talking point that only Donald Trump used, and we all know he's a liar. Subheadline: Departure of Ukraine's top negotiator, President's right-hand man, Andriy Yermak, comes at pivotal moment for country. Story was written by Ian Lovett, Robbie Grammer, and Lawrence Norman. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you understand just how much money we were sending over there and how much was being put into the back pockets of anybody and everybody except the war machine. There has been so many calls to find out where did that money go. In this peace deal that's being negotiated, I even reported on it. It was either at the end of last week or the beginning of this week. Yeah, it was at the end of last week. Yeah, it was the end of last week, Thursday or Friday on my daily show, that I said one of the talking points, one of the peace points, the 23-point plan or 24-point plan, whatever it was that Donald Trump had hammered out and his team had hammered out to try to get stability in that area, to get Russia and Ukraine to end this ridiculous conflict. One of those bullet points was an audit of all international funds to make sure they knew, well, where did the money go? How much went where? How much was here? How much was left over? And Ukraine rewrote that bullet to say they want amnesty. Because due to war, and people will sometimes make bad choices and bad decisions in times of war and conflict, we want a get out of jail free line, not a, hey, let's find out where the money went line. We want it doesn't matter where the money went, and if we find out that it went where it's not supposed to, well, we want amnesty for everybody. I remember talking about that and say, whoa, you're changing the language? You're changing the language on that. For what reason? You could always blame it on the generals that are gone. You could blame it on the people that you had to fire. You could say, look, it was a hard time and we were just moving so fast and we just didn't catch these people. And I'm so glad you're helping us find the corruption so we can stop it in the future. No, Volodymyr Zelensky didn't want it. You got to ask, why would the current president not want to find the missing money or have an audit of missing funds unless, and I'm just throwing it out there, unless maybe he's in on it too? I mean, you got to kind of put that into your equation, don't you? Don't you have to factor that in as a possibility of why Zelensky and his team wanted to remove that talking point, want to remove that bullet? And then here's the Wall Street Journal. There is a corruption probe, and his right-hand guy, Andrea Yermak, is like, whoa, I'm out of here. They raided his home. They raided his office. They raided, the office is literally right outside of Zelensky's own office. Because they can't figure out where millions and millions and millions of dollars have gone. That's our money. That's Canada's money. That's the UK's money. That's Europe's money. What is it? Over 300 some billion with a B dollars have been sent to Ukraine. The United States, what, about 200 billion of it? 175 maybe, 175 billion? We're going in debt faster than we know how to fix it. Donald Trump's trying to do things to turn it around, but we're still adding to our debt. We've slowed the deficit, but we haven't reversed it. We are still going into debt, and we were handing money left and right to a country that everyone knew was the laundromat of the world, in that sense that if you want money laundered, you send it through Ukraine. We should all be just, doesn't matter of our political stripes, doesn't matter our political backing, our views on taxes or health care or social nets and social programs. Shouldn't we at the very least all be united in saying, we can argue about the money we want to spend here as long as it's our money here, but we sent a bunch of it somewhere else and nobody knows where it went and no one's bothered by it? And then we find out there's a massive corruption investigation again. And no Joe Biden this time flying over there threatening, hey, you better fire that prosecutor. He's getting way too close to the Burisma Corporation. Can't have them looking into Burisma, not while Hunter's on the board. Ukraine has always been a laundromat for corruption and laundering money and funds. It's not the country that everybody, their little yellow and blue flags in their profile, keep trying to make it out to be. Like there's some innocent little, like they're the Swiss or something. Like, oh, we just didn't want to get involved in anything. We just wanted to ski and eat chocolate. That's sophistry. Very, very corrupt. And I get it. Who do you side with in a conflict where you've got a corrupt country that everybody in Western Europe loves to launder money through, or Russia? Obviously, you can't support Russia, but the fact of the matter is, we knew the corruption existed in Ukraine. Donald Trump tried to bring light to it the first time around with an incoming president who hadn't gotten involved in a war yet. There hadn't been any problems yet. He was brand new, and they both could have been heroes. But a lot of people, a lot of voices on the world stage, including voices here in the U.S. House, the House and the Senate, our legislative branch, would rather have impeached Donald Trump for asking the question, where's all this money going? They wanted to impeach him for that question rather than being upset about the money being taken. Bottom of the hour, here's GNN. A little Christmas music, a little Trans-Siberian Orchestra there. Welcome back, everyone, to Waking Up with Alan. Talking about the breaking news from the last couple of days of a massive corruption probe taking place in Ukraine that has now hit as close to President Zelensky as you get. His right-hand man involved, or apparently has resigned. We're talking about Andriy, I think it's Andriy, Andriy Yermak, Zelensky's chief of staff, de facto gatekeeper, and second most powerful man in Ukraine. Yermak wasn't just a paper pusher, folks. He's the enforcer. He's the deal maker. He's the guy who handpicks prime ministers, ministers, every key appointee in the Zelensky machine. And he's been Zelensky's closest ally since the first days in office. The one who's whispering in his ear during late-night strategy sessions. The lead negotiator, by the way, in the U.S.-mediated peace talks that have been up and bubbling since this past weekend. In fact, last weekend, Yermak was in Geneva schmoozing all the American envoys about territorial concessions and ceasefire lines. But by Friday, yesterday, his apartment was getting torn apart by investigators, and his office was not far behind. Now, Yermak went on to Telegram, which is a encrypted type, messaging service. The investigators have no obstacles, full access, lawyers on site. I'm helping every step, so he says. Noble words, but then hours later, Zelensky himself announced that Yermak has resigned. And in a statement that reads like a hostage video, the president praised Yermak's invaluable service, but insisted, quote, there should be no distractions from defending Ukraine. Translation, we're going to clean house to keep the aid spigot open, especially with the Trump team eyeing cuts and demanding accountability. Another move by Zelensky. Well, we're going to get rid of people we think stole money. We'll get rid of them. And I'm clean and pure as the wind-driven snow. Just keep bringing me money. Opposition lawmakers from Zelensky's own Servant of the People party have been baying for Yermak's heads for months, calling him a divisive figure who's more interested in power plays than peace. Even the European Commission chimed in, with spokesperson Paula Pino nodding approvingly, quote, this shows Ukraine's I got to read this with a straight face. This shows Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies are doing their work. But come on. If these entities that are doing the investigation were truly independent, why did Zelensky's office try to get rid of them this past summer and push for legislation to shove them under the thumb of a politically appointed prosecutor general? All right. It's Thanksgiving weekend. You may be wondering, why are we talking about this? Why am I bringing so much focus on a corruption scandal in Ukraine? Because it's our money, ladies and gentlemen. If people were skimming 10 to 20% off the top, that's money you and I had taken out of our paychecks, sent to Washington, D.C., and with no one voting on it, sent blindly with no checks, no balances, no audit, no nothing. And apparently, it's vanishing into Swiss bank accounts or Dubai villas. And what about Yermak? As the presidential enforcer, folks, he wasn't just aware. Reports suggest his fingerprints are all over the, we'll say, procurement approvals. So we're not talking about isolated graft. It's what we've always known about Ukraine. It's systemic rot. It's the kind that explains why Ukraine and their front lines are crumbling despite the billions that have been sent to them. Soldiers dying for lack of shells, lack of weapons, lack of ammunition. And yet, aides to the president and to the aristocracy, if you will, of Ukraine, they go yachting in Monaco. That's our money, folks. Now, where does that leave us right now in the midst of this peace process that's been trying to be hammered out since last weekend in Geneva? We know Zelensky's scrambling for a replacement. He's reviewing candidates today, supposedly. He's made an announcement. Saturday, the 29th, I'm going to be looking for people persons to put in place. Russian forces keep inching toward more and more territory of Ukraine. In fact, they are making some of the biggest gains since this started 4 years ago. The peace talks are hanging by a thread, with U.S. Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll set to jet back to Kyiv any day now. And of course, the Trump administration, you can bet they'll use this as leverage. No more blank checks without some kind of an ironclad audit. And at home, on for like the average Ukrainian, you look at the polling, you look at what people are saying. They're fed up. They're fed up because this could have ended a few years ago, but Joe Biden and, what was the Prime Minister of UK at the time? Both of them convinced Zelensky, no, don't fold. Don't sign a peace deal. We'll send you a lot more money. You gotta beat Russia. And basically, we were talking about how we were funding a de facto war with a nuclear power. You know Donald Trump doesn't like war. And he knows it's a powder keg. And you know, not only does he not like war, he is terrified that someone will use nuclear weapons at some point. We've got a powder keg inside the country of Ukraine because the Ukrainians are fed up. The allies are becoming much more wary, and the narrative of noble resistance is starting to fall off. That costume is starting to fall away. We should have known better. But then again, if you were already making millions of dollars by laundering money through all the different energy sectors or bioweapon sectors or other sectors within Ukraine, or in the last 4 years, the military-industrial complex, you already know you can launder money through there. Why would you have tried to put any checks and balances in place? That's the sewer of Washington, D.C. That's the deep state. Ladies and gentlemen, we should all be angry regardless of our political affiliation because we've poured our treasure into a black hole, propping up a regime that's as riddled with thieves as it is with young men conscripted to fight on the front lines. It's time for some transparency, not blind faith. We need to have an audit of every dollar. There needs to be conditions put on any dime going forward, and we better start prioritizing American interests over those of Kyiv and the carousel of scandals that seems to be nonstop out of Ukraine. Because if we don't demand that, we're going to be the ones left holding the bag, or worse, a bill that no one else can pay. 44 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then more conversation when we come back.
Hey, everyone. It's your favorite president. And when I'm getting my Saturday started, I tune into this guy, the greatest guy with probably the greatest show you can be listening to. It's Waking Up with Alan on WBHF in Cooksville.
They told me, our newborn king to
hailing from my home city, Detroit, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band putting on their version of The Little Drummer Boy. Love his version. That's a song I like just about everybody's version that's been out there. I even like the kind of play on it with Bing Crosby and David Bowie. Great time of year, isn't it? Christmas lights, Christmas decorations, Christmas music. Heck, even in our own rotation, starting Thanksgiving, we've been having. So now it's been weird because every now and then you hear like a Christmas song that's really sweet and all about the season or about Jesus, and then you have something like I'm too sexy for my shirt or whatever. It's like, wait, who put those two songs back to back? Anyway, welcome back. Waking Up with Alan. Alan Sanders with you here. 770-386-1450. There was another thing that broke yesterday while the flames of corruption were exploding over Ukraine again. And this time, of course, a lot of allies and a lot of people are going, dang, okay, this is getting bad. Donald Trump did something yesterday. Donald Trump did something yesterday that you know he would not have done unless he's got all the ducks in a row, the I's dotted, the T's crossed, and has done the due diligence behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys who have been listening to me for a while, especially if you listen to my daily show, do you remember what I said about the Autopen issue of Joe Biden's Autopen? I said that's a scandal that will continue to grow and grow and grow. Because at the heart of it, Joe Biden didn't know what was being signed. Joe Biden didn't know what was being executed. Joe Biden didn't know who he was pardoning. The people in and around him, propping him up as a meat puppet, were the ones running the country. Not the president. A bunch of people none of us knew. People we didn't vote for. That's not how our government's supposed to work. Yesterday, Donald Trump, President Trump, dropped a bombshell on Truth Social, and we're going to be talking about it all weekend, and I guarantee you through the rest of the year. He is terminating every single document signed by Joe Biden's Autopen. Yep, you heard that right. That includes executive orders, proclamations, pardons, you name it. If it bore the mechanical scribble of that infamous signature machine, Trump just declared it, quote, hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. Hey, and he didn't mince words. I'm going to read you the tweet here in just a second. But part of that message was, quote, any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was around 92% of them, is hereby terminated. And he didn't stop there. He actually accused the, quote, radical left lunatics who were circling Biden of literally hijacking the presidency and operating the Autopen illegally, and warned if Joe Biden claims that, oh no, I was in the loop, I knew what was going on, Donald Trump says he'll face perjury charges if he tries to lie that he knew that his pen was being used. Let me read it to you. I want you to hear this. This is Donald Trump yesterday. Any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The Autopen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the Autopen did so illegally. Joe Biden was not involved in the Autopen process, and if he says he was, he'll be brought up on charges of perjury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Folks, this isn't just Trump being Trump. This is a direct strike at the heart of what's been uncovered for months. What I've been talking about with you for months now. That this was going to become, and of all the scandals, there's a lot of them. All the hoaxes, all the lies, all the cover-ups, all the corruption, all the graft. But I said of the Biden 4 years, the Autopen is going to become the biggest scandal in American history. And again, we've got a bunch of big ones right now. But when you think about what the Autopen scandal really represents, you had power-mad people propping up a corpse, basically, and they were running the government in the shadows. And ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just Trump doing this all by himself. This ties right into the exhaustive work of the House Oversight Committee, which again, you listen to my daily show, we've been talking about what Chairman James Comer has been doing. They had tons of depositions, over 14 of them, nearly 47 hours of sworn testimony from Biden's inner circle. chiefs of staff like Ron Klain and Jeff Zients, who, by the way, Jeff Zients, everybody kept saying he's the guy with all the power. Joe Biden might be president, but you better steer clear of Jeff Zients. They interviewed the staff secretary, Neera Tanden, who literally controlled the Autopen. And they brought in a parade of aides who'd known Joe Biden for decades. And while the legacy mainstream media didn't want to put any fanfare on it, yours truly did, and some others in the new media, you may be hearing this for the first time. What did they reveal under oath? They all admitted we had a White House in free fall, where the man in the Oval Office was increasingly detached and his handlers were the ones pulling the strings, literally signing away the fate of America without a whisper of direct presidential input. Just look at Tanden's deposition, the woman who ran the Autopen, or for a lot of it. She admitted to, quote, minimal interaction with Biden himself, and yet wielded that godlike authority over the decision memos. She'd fire off approvals to the president's inner circle and then get back a nod. No questions asked about whether Biden's eyes even scanned the page. No visibility, no chain of command, just a rubber stamp process shrouded in secrecy. And then there's the big fish. Oh, remember the big ones? Annie Tomasini, Anthony Bernal, Ashley Williams. Again, you guys may not know those names if you don't listen to my daily show, which is why you should subscribe. They were the gatekeepers, folks, who ran interference for Biden. They were subpoenaed last Congress, and then they stonewalled, and then they refused to show. And then Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Biden's personal physician, he spent the whole time evoking the Fifth Amendment about simple things like, at what point did you notice that he was having difficulty walking? I plead the Fifth. At what point did you notice this? At what point I plead the Fifth. I plead the Fifth. On everything. He claimed not just the Fifth Amendment, but also physician-patient privilege. Well, you're the physician of the President of the United States, so there's a difference here because that president is answerable to the people. Therefore, his health we should know about. And he refused to talk about it. Enter Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, admitted in testimony that he thought Biden should drop out after the disastrous June debate. But did they ever confirm Biden knew about the Autopen's whirlwind? Not one. Ladies and gentlemen, not one. Witness after witness, none of them could say that Joe Biden was aware of anything that was signed. Quote, no idea if the president was aware, or, quote, couldn't say for sure. A chorus of convenient amnesia. Comer's committee didn't just ask questions. They dropped a 100-page staff report just last month titled The Biden Autopen Presidency, Decline, Delusion, and Deception in the White House, and then sent it over to the Department of Justice for possible political prosecutions. Because it laid bare all the irregularities. Executive actions greenlit without written authorization. The president's decision binder treated like a game of hot potato and then the pardons. Oh, sweeping last minute issued in the final days. No one could say whether or not Joe knew any name, let alone had given a green light. And all of the blanket clemency, the whole Biden crime family, political allies, even members of the January 6th committee, all given a stamp from the Autopen. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue this in a little bit at the top of the hour because we're running out of time. But do you remember the one pardon that looked different than all of the others? And the one that I said to you may be the only legitimate pardon that Joe Biden actually signed and was aware of. Do you guys remember which one? For those of you who in the audience said Hunter Biden, congratulations, you're on top of what's going on. The only pardon that was signed by his own shaky hand was the one where he pardoned his son for everything and anything for the last 10 years. It's 8 o'clock, top of the hour, WBHF Cartersville. Here's Fox News. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to hour number 2 of Waking Up with Alan. Now, for those of you listening on the terrestrial radio, it's been several minutes. We had to get a Fox News update. We got some local news, and then we are back here together. But on the podcast, which, by the way, I always release this on Sunday, tomorrow, as a bonus episode of the Alan Sanders Show. I always release it where I take out all the news breaks, I take out all of the commercials, and I just make sure that the talk flows one story into the next. And it's good when I have to separate a story like this, a big one like the Autopen story, because for you on the podcast, it all comes together. It feels like there's just a little interruption, and then we're right back at it. For those of you who were listening, well, we're going to continue. If you're just now tuning in, let me just give you a very quick overview. We're talking about Donald Trump's tweet yesterday, where he said the vast majority of anything signed by the Autopen in the Joe Biden administration are to be considered null and void. Let me read it to you again. This is what started this conversation. Any document, according to Donald Trump, our president, he said, any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The Autopen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. He then goes on to say, if Joe Biden, who was not involved in this process, says that he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. And that's the thing I've been trying to tell my audience. For those of you who listen daily to the Alan Sanders Show, I told you this Autopen issue was going to explode. It was going to be big, especially in light of the Oversight Committee doing its best to try to figure out, was there a paper trail? Was there a note to file? Were there memos? Do you have any documentation to show that the President of the United States was made aware of whatever the issue was and said, sure, let the Autopen sign it for me? See, Donald Trump has used the Autopen. But does anybody think Donald Trump isn't aware of what the Autopen's been used? When they come to him and say, Mr. President, here are these 15 people we want to see released from prison, or we want to commute their sentence. Can you take a look at the file? I can guarantee you this, especially in light of the fact that lawfare has been used so much against him. They make sure everything's documented. The archivist is there. The historian is there. The secretary is there. His chief of staff, whoever has to be there to sign off that the president was made aware of what was going to be auto-signed. Because let's face it, the president is a busy person. There's a reason the Autopen was made. Part of it is like when you want to do invitations, or you want to do letters of thanks, or you want to send personal, I don't know, just whatever. Hey, acknowledge it's a great year. Merry Christmas to all the staff. Donald Trump's not going to sit at the Resolute desk for 12 hours signing Christmas cards. What he's going to do is he's going to say, hey, everybody on this list, everybody that we're going to send a Christmas card to, I want you to use the Autopen so that way they have my signature. That's what it's for. But did you notice when it comes to executive orders, when it comes to big pieces of legislation, Donald Trump always signs it himself. He's made a point of saying that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to sign it yourself when you're talking about executive orders. When you're talking about pardons, yeah, if you're going to give hundreds and hundreds of pardons, you may not be able to sign them all. But even then, he said, I want to sign those kinds of documents. When it comes to Christmas cards, when it comes to general letters, when it comes to invitations, yeah, that's when you should use the Autopen. And let's remind you, this is not Donald Trump acting in a vacuum. Let's remind you again, there was dozens and dozens of people brought in and over 47 hours of sworn testimony given to the House Oversight Committee. That James Comer, the chair of that committee, created a 100-page report detailing how they couldn't find anyone no one who would swear under perjury, under penalty of perjury, no one would swear that Joe Biden had any knowledge. Any. The people closest to Joe Biden, the ones who kept saying, we'll make sure he knows, or he's fine, or he can't talk to you right now. Annie Tomasini, Anthony Bernal, and Ashley Williams, all of them were subpoenaed. They all stonewalled. They all refused to show. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the physician, invoked the fifth. None of them could say for sure. Comer's committee didn't just ask those questions. They summarized it all in a report. It laid bare, folks, all of the irregularities. Ladies and gentlemen, we had executive actions. Basically the full effect of law until another president overwrites it or until Congress codifies it. You had executive actions greenlit with no written authorization from the president, Joe Biden. None. The only, and as we went to the break, just a reminder, I know it's recapping a little of where we left off for those of you listening on the podcast, the only pardon that was signed by hand was for Hunter Biden. So what does this mean? What does it mean when Donald Trump put that tweet out yesterday? Because the implications are fairly seismic. It's a potential earthquake for our very republic. Let's start with executive orders, because we know Joe Biden signed the Autopen signed 162 of them. Most of them to undo Donald Trump's own executive orders as Trump 45. And then he shoved through all of the radical agendas on climate, immigration, you name it. Now, Trump has, and because these are executive orders, Trump can, as president, revoke any other executive order. So he absolutely has already revoked dozens of them within the first few days of office. But if 92% of all documents were autopen ghosts, lacking Joe Biden's real buy-in, those are not just reversible, they're arguably void, dead on arrival, no force, no effect. In other words, whatever protections, whatever it granted, whatever positions that it was authorizing, whatever people were given their power or authority within government based on a signature, done, gone. Think about this, folks. There's even some indication that the Autopen signed off on the approval of Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice. If everything is considered dead on arrival, no force, no effect, it's not just about policies that'll be overturned, policies that choked our energy independence, flooded our borders, ballooned the deep state. It could very well mean a lot of people who think they've got their positions in perpetuity don't have them. That you're going to have to go back and start over. And the Department of Justice, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, was put on notice when James Comer brought that 100-page report to her, saying, we've done our due diligence in Congress. It's up to you now to hunt for fraud. We think we have it, but we're not the law enforcement wing. We're the legislative wing. But we have oversight, and we have provided our exhaustive report. We've done all the due diligence. Here you go, on a silver platter, tied with a bow just in time for Christmas. Whether or not Pam Bondi does anything with it, we'll have to wait and see. And let's talk about those pardons one more time, because it gets pretty explosive when you realize how many were signed in the last waning moments of the Biden regime. Understand what the pardon power is. It's the closest thing remaining of what kings could do. When our founding fathers said we don't want kings, one of the things they discussed, though, was some of the powers vested in a position like a monarch. And the one they thought they wanted to vest in the presidency was the pardon of the power of the pardon. The Constitution vests that power solely in the president. The pardon power doesn't exist for Congress. It doesn't exist for any of the secretaries. It doesn't exist for the vice president. It doesn't exist for the Speaker of the House. It is solely the power of a person, one man or one woman, whoever is the president. It's non-delegatable. You can't delegate that power to somebody else. Yet if Biden wasn't lucid enough to authorize them, if his aides were playing puppet master with the Autopen, those get-out-of-jail-free cards, suddenly, poof, those evaporate. We're talking Jim Biden's shady ventures. The outside of Hunter, the whole of the Biden crime family and everyone else. Even the preemptive shields that were given to the January 6th truth seekers, the J6 reality TV show. Oh, and let's not forget Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, his went back to 2014. Right around the same time, Ukraine and Hunter Biden was playing around with Burisma. And we find out we had a bunch of biolabs doing stuff that wasn't supposed to be done, but we hid it in Ukraine. There's some serious issues that are going to be ravaging ravaging Washington, D.C. since this dropped yesterday. All the preemptive shields, all the shady ventures, everything meant to prevent you, even things in the future. These were preemptive pardons. Supposedly nobody committed any crimes, right? Then why do they need a pardon? It's a preemptive pardon, just in case. Now, legal eagles say there's no mechanism to unwind a valid pardon once it's granted. No double jeopardy, no do-over. But the question is going to have to be answered. This isn't double jeopardy if it was never valid in the first place. Due process, yeah, but if you weren't supposed to be given the thing to begin with, if the people giving you your free get-out-of-jail-free card were not authorized, then you never got it. It's not double jeopardy. It's going to be interesting for the Supreme Court over the next several weeks, if not months. The committee's already whispering, what do we do with Fauci? What do we do with those pardons? What do we do? And beyond that, what do we do with the proclamations, the nominations, the international accords, anything the Autopen signed? Does this undo any treaties? What does it do to any of our... what does it do in the courts? Who's going to have to decide this? How are we going to challenge it? This is bigger than Biden's nap schedule or Jill's enablers. It's about who really ran America for 4 years. And as I've mentioned many times to my audience, it wasn't the president. It was a cadre of unelected operatives hiding behind a fake, behind a meat puppet, behind a shill, an empty shell, if you will. Trump just lit that match around the papier-mâché doll that was the Biden presidency. We're at the bottom of the hour. Time for statewide headlines from GNN.
Ooh, Merry Christmas, Christmas comes this time each year.
Welcome back, everybody. 35 minutes past the hour. For those of you on the podcast, the blink of an eye. Little Saint Nick, little Beach Boys there. I was having a discussion with a friend over Christmas music and what do we like and not like. And I have a very eclectic mix. I will tell you, there are some things, though, that I just can't get over. I can't do the John Lennon, Yoko Ono. That just chaps me at some point. I can hear it once and go, all right, I've heard it once. But if it comes up in rotation, I'll say something like, Alexa, skip. Not a huge fan of the Paul McCartney Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. Again, the first time it plays, I'm like, okay. But after a while, the whole I'm like, oh, it's annoying. And then I just skip it. The group Pentatonics, I actually am so impressed by how they can make all that sound with just 5 people's voices, just that a cappella, create the sounds of the drum, the beat, the hum. But I can only have them in small doses. And after a while, I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. And it's amazing. It's because I haven't heard them nearly as much as I've heard some of my favorite classics. But the classics, every time they come on, I'm like, yep, let it play. Every time King Cole comes on with the Christmas song, let it play. Every time Bing Crosby, White Christmas, let it play. Every single time. Even Mariah Carey, I love her song, All I Want for Christmas Is You. I know it's still a classic because it's been around for, 25 years now? So, I mean, I have a pretty eclectic mix, but I'm not big into a lot of the, let's say, R&B and country style of Christmas songs. I'm just not. But any of the pop, any of the classics, any of the crooners, anything like you bring in some Dean Martin, you bring in, again, Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, you bring in Bing Crosby, Andy Williams, you bring him on, you bring in the Percy Faith Orchestra or the Ray Conniff Singers. I'm there, and I've been listening since November 1, been putting Christmas music on. And even last night, I listened when I got home from the radio, from high school football. I always have to unwind. So the very first thing is I put on my favorite Ray Conniff Singer kind of medley album, the We Wish You a Merry Christmas. I love that album. It's probably because I remember as a kid, it was the first album I just remember putting on the record player at Christmas time as we were putting the Christmas tree up. So it's got a lot of fondness and nostalgia for me. And then right on the heels of that, I listened to the second Christmas album of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Remember, they had their first one. It was just called Christmas Eve and Other Stories. That was the first one. And a lot of people were like, what is this symphonic rock? What is this? It's so unique. It's so different. Well, the second album built on that one, but it was more story-driven. And you need to, like the old days, folks, you need to start with the first song on side 1 and go all the way through, because by the end, it's telling a story of an angel who was sent down to see if anybody still remembers the true meaning of Christmas. It's a phenomenal album. And that one's called The Christmas Attic. And so I listened to that, and as that last song played, I was starting to finally get a little sleepy, and it was time to go beddy bye. So anyway, sharing that with you before I get back to the hard talk. By the way, the phone number is 770-386-1450 if you'd like to be part of the program. Something I've been talking about a lot with my audience over the last 2 weeks are the Seditious Six. The 6 Democrat lawmakers who thought it was important to put a video together and remind people who joined the military, by the way, you don't have to follow illegal orders, which is something we all learned day 1 just about in boot camp and get reinforced multiple times throughout boot camp, through our A school, through our training, when we get to our duty assignment. It is just part of military culture. It's part of just, it's part of the culture. There's no reason for 6 lawmakers to put a video out to say, hey, just in case you weren't aware, you're not supposed to follow illegal orders. And we know that's not what they were trying to do. We know they're playing dumb. We know they're trying to play. They're intentionally pretending that they're stupid and innocent at the exact same time. And I said from the beginning, I know this is about what Donald Trump has decided to do against the narco-terrorists. I said it within the first day when they dropped that video over a week ago. I was like, they're not saying it, but I guarantee they're mad. And check this out. They're mad that Donald Trump has decided that these folks who have been running reckless abandon at the expense and American lives, expense of American our society and lives, putting that poison in the streets, running as if they are the kingpins on the street and can get away with it because for 4 years they were allowed to. Donald Trump correctly followed the legal process. They identified these folks as having basically ruling through terror. And if you know anything about the techniques and capabilities of these cartels, they rule through terror. They will behead people. They will torture people. They control governments. They control through fear. And they have bought a lot of military-grade weapons, a lot of them on the black market, that amazingly look like a lot of the stuff that we sent to Ukraine. Just suddenly showed up in Venezuela. Donald Trump went through the legal process, his teams declaring these groups as actual recognized terrorist organizations. They're called narco-terrorists because of the drug running, but they are still employing the same elements that terrorists employ. If you're talking about jihadist terrorists or any other kind. I mean, you had Irish terrorists for a long time who were bombing things left and right in the whole idea of the war between Ireland and the UK. They were terrorists. Donald Trump went through the effort of calling these drug runners and these cartels that were basically thinking that they could do whatever they want. They have been designated officially and internationally recognized as terrorist organizations. And the left would rather argue about the rights of terrorists than about the damage wrought to America and Americans. And I knew that's what that video was about. And they were trying to pretend, no. And then after about 5 days, well, he's just killing people. They're not getting due process. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth came out over the weekend. Well, before the weekend. I guess this was yesterday, so heading into this weekend. I keep thinking because of how long the holiday break, I don't know about you guys, but every time Thanksgiving comes around, I feel like that's Saturday, and then I wake up Friday thinking it's Sunday, and then I'm like, oh no, I got to go to work. I'm like, wait, it's not the weekend. So on Friday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth confirmed that no narco-terrorist strikes in the Caribbean violate either U.S. law or international law. They have done. This is what it drives me so insane with people who just react emotionally and they just go and they'll believe a narrative because they just want to believe it without actually checking to see if it's true. How many of you out there heard, well, it's illegal what he's doing. It's illegal to just, they were in international waters. The Trump administration made sure to go through, again, dotting I's, crossing T's, designating these groups as officially recognized terror cells and terror organizations, thus forming to international law. And then, after Pete Hegseth reminded the legacy mainstream media that we are conforming to international law, debunking what the legacy mainstream media was putting out there as yet another myth, another hoax, he added, quote, "We have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists." He said, quote, "Our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. And as we've said from the beginning and in every statement, these highly effective strikes are specifically intended to be lethal kinetic strikes. The declared intent is to stop lethal drugs, destroy narco boats, and kill narco-terrorists who are poisoning the American people. Every trafficker we kill is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization, a DTO. Our warriors in Southcom put their lives on the line every day to protect the homeland from these narco-terrorists. And, he says, as Secretary of War, I will always have their backs. Of course, people started lighting their heads on fire over that one, too, because, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Well, go fact check it. Go look at it. Go read it. Go do some due diligence before you just light your own head on fire. These guys have been declared and officially recognized as terrorist organizations, as DTO, designated terrorist organizations. No different than Al-Shabaab or Al Jazeera. That's the newspaper. God, it just popped out of my head. any other terrorist organization that we know about. There's no difference. Hamas, the Houthis, all of them. The Iran, in and of itself, the world lead state sponsor of terror. All of them have been recognized as terrorists. No, until recently, no Democrat lawmakers had a problem when we were taking out mass bombers or people who were planning some kind of mass attacks or any kind of gathering of any kind of weapons of mass destruction. But then remember, all these same Democrats that didn't have a problem when Joe Biden was going after, quote, any of these terrorists, when Barack Obama was going after those terrorists, had no problems. But when Donald Trump wanted to go after those terrorists, suddenly it's an issue. Well, he's declared these drug runners, these cartels, as, quote, narco-terrorists. Therefore, they're just the same, and they are going to be eliminated until they can correct their behaviors and drop the error of their ways. If they choose to engage in their craft, if they choose to engage in continuing to be narco-terrorists, drug-running terrorists, then they're going to be treated as such. And there is nothing that the United States has done that is outside the boundary of both U.S. law and international law. We'll be back. More of Waking Up with Alan after this.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves
And a partridge in a pear tree.
On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 French hens,
2 turtle doves
And a partridge in a pear tree.
on the fourth day of Christmas.
I figured I'd let a little Muppets Christmas carol there, a little 12 Days of Christmas with the Muppets, and John Denver as the guest on the show who sang with them, and love Miss Piggy, and how it kind of gets out of hand by the time we get through the final verse, but we don't have time to play it all. If you haven't heard the 12 Days of Muppets Christmas, you should probably just go out there and find it online, YouTube. You can probably find it on your Alexa if you've got a subscription. I love the Muppets. Always have, always will. And I still think as far as the engaging and as far as being not just engaging, but really, really close to the source material, the Muppets Christmas Carol with Michael Caine as Scrooge, probably my all-time favorite. I think Michael Caine's Scrooge, the fact that it's sort of like when you watch Empire Strikes Back and you see Luke and Yoda. For the first minute or so, you're like, okay, that's a puppet. I get it. It's a Muppet. It's a little... And then after about 5 minutes, you go, nope, it's a real thing. And he's interacting with... And you just buy it and you believe you just forget you're watching Muppets. It's just part of the, quote, the world. But it is so close to the Dickens story. It's really good. Now, they do take liberties. Obviously, they throw a few songs in there because they got to keep it cool for the kids. And instead of it being just Jacob Marley, it's the Marley and Marley, the two, Waldorf and Statler. They're the two guys become, hey, you better shape up, those guys. But other than that, it's great. In fact, I watch it just about every single year, especially being a Disney Plus subscriber. I still, yes, I get it. I've heard a lot of people say, I can't believe you support them. Do you know what they're doing? Do you know they're woke and woke this and woke that? I'm like, look. If I established a political kind of litmus test to my entertainment, I would have hardly any music to listen to. I'd have hardly any books to read. I'd have hardly any movies to watch. There'd be hardly any actors that I appreciate. I can draw a line. But you're giving money. You know what? Yes, I know. I get it. And as hypocritical as it may sound, I enjoy the old stuff. And I think all the stuff that was crafted and created prior to this whole woke nonsense, which, by the way, has been dying very quickly on the vine. It took way too long, but it has been going away. But I like the old stuff. And I like having access to all the old stuff, including the old cartoons. So I'm not getting rid of Disney Plus, at least not yet. As we start to wind down hour 2 here, folks, Elon Musk has done it again. I'm gonna shift gears here a little bit from what's going on in Washington, D.C. I want to talk about something that's not just a tech breakthrough. This can actually become a geopolitical earthquake, which is why I'm going to talk about it. Picture this. The world's clean energy revolution has been actually held hostage by a single country's stranglehold on the very raw materials that power it. We're talking China here, folks. China is not our friend. Donald Trump has understood that, which is what the whole tariff thing has been about the whole time. And what has China been holding as a stranglehold? Lithium, the silver bullet in every electric vehicle battery that, for those of you who believe in the nonsense of man-made climate change, you're so worried about fossil fuels. Look, I think Teslas are great. If I had somebody drop 120 grand into my back pocket and said, now, you got to use this on a Tesla, I'd be like, absolutely, sure thing. I think they're cool. Well, guess what? Tesla just dropped a patent that's not an evolution, it's an absolute annihilation. They have just patented the holy grail of lithium refining, and it's going to crack China's empire wide open. Let me break it down very quickly as we head to the top of the hour, because if you can grasp this, you're going to see why Elon Musk's empire is about to start printing money while Beijing is going to be sweating bullets. First, the basics, okay? Lithium refining is not sexy, okay? It's the bottleneck that is strangling the entire EV market, electric vehicle market. We dig up lithium ore. Think hard rock-like minerals from places like Australia, or you can get them in Nevada. To turn that rock into the battery-grade lithium hydroxide or carbonate that goes into your Tesla or any EV, you have to do something called calcine it. C-A-L-C-I-N-E. You have to calcine it. That's industrial speak for roasting the ore at 1,000 degrees Celsius in massive kilns, often fueled by natural gas. This cracks open the mineral, releases the lithium for the next phase, where they leach it, where you literally dissolve it out using chemicals. But here's the dirty secret. Traditional methods guzzle sulfuric acid, it spews toxic sodium sulfate waste that costs a fortune to dispose of, and burns through water and energy like there's no tomorrow. That's why it's so expensive. And the kicker? They rely on soda ash or sodium carbonate as a key reagent to neutralize and then leach the lithium. And China controls 60% of global lithium refining and just about all of the entire soda ash supply chain. You want to know why it's so expensive? Because China won't share, and they have the vast majority of it. It's been a chokehold that's been jacking up battery costs and slowing any move, for those of you who want to, into the green energy shift. Let's talk about Tesla's patent, published 2 weeks ago. I just read about it this week. They actually published it on November 13th. And it's not a tweak. It's a full system hack of the old model. Listen to this. Here's how it works, okay? Step 1, calcination. Same as always. You fire up the kilns, you roast the ore. But now, with this patent, you capture the CO2 exhaust. You literally capture the emissions. The big bad wolf that's been venting into the sky, you capture it. Now, normally, you'd say, that's pollution. Great that you're capturing it. But Tesla said, no. That's the gold mine. You're like, wait, what? Step 2. They pipe the captured CO2 straight into what they call a brine reactor, which is a mix of water, table salt, sodium chloride, and a dash of ammonia as a catalyst. And boom, you're talking chemistry magic, folks. The CO2 reacts to form sodium bicarbonate, baking soda on steroids, and ammonium chloride as a byproduct. You filter out the solid bicarbonate, you heat it up, and it decomposes into what? Pure soda ash plus more CO2, which you just loop right back into the reactor. The ammonia recycles endlessly. No external purchases, no massive truck convoys, no hauling soda ash from China. It's on site because you're self-creating it and it's self-sustaining. It's like turning your car's exhaust into gasoline and putting it right back into your tank. They have just pioneered, they have just revolutionized, they have just annihilated how we have traditionally made lithium ion for the batteries. It's mind-blowing because this is going to drop the costs and it's going to get us away from the grip that China has had on the market. 9 o'clock, top of the hour, WBHF Cartersville. Here's Fox News. Good morning. Welcome back, everyone, to Waking Up with Alan. If you're just tuning in, good morning to you. And if you've missed parts, don't worry. It'll be up on the WBHF Radio podcast later today, right after we get done with both shows back-to-back. I always upload Waking Up with Alan, followed by BK on the Air. Those go up on the WBHF Radio podcast, accessible through the app, but also on Spotify and other podcatchers. And then if you follow me personally, and if you don't, you should, at the very least, so that way you don't miss out on certain things. You don't have to listen every day. I get you've got a lot of valuable time, and you got to spend it wisely. But if you subscribe or at least follow or like the podcast on your podcatcher of choice, you'll at least know you'll never miss a download. It'll be there. Whether you listen to it or not is up to you. But I always take and make a bonus episode out of the Saturday show, taking out all the commercials and the news breaks and just kind of stringing it together like one normal podcast for my show, because I normally don't have the news breaks when I do my weekly show here, or daily show during the work week. By the way, phone number is 770-386-1450 if you'd like to be part of the program. The last thing we talked about was, of course, this invention or this new patent that Tesla has just filed, a method of soda ash preparation for lithium mineral refining and compositions thereof, creating basically a closed-loop process for generating soda ash on site, where you don't need to import it anymore. You can make your own. This is going to be great. It's going to cut pollution down. It's going to cut waste down. It's going to bring the cost down. That's the most important thing. My goodness gracious. Plus, it's going to eliminate sodium sulfate waste, which has been the previous hazardous waste byproduct. And you're going to be able to cut the use of energy, the reduction of water. Ladies and gentlemen, it's massive. And China can't do a darn thing about it. Not a darn thing. If you missed it, go back, listen to last hour as I wrapped up, because I think it's huge. Folks, what's the last time anybody in this audience has just taken time to read the Constitution of the United States of America? I know. Who does that? It's only the owner's manual of the United States of America. And you guys probably don't even read the owner's manual to the things you buy and use every single day. You assume you just know it. You may not know all the cool gadgets and things that your car can do, or the features, or where to even find things, until all of a sudden something breaks and you're like, where's my owner's manual? I'm one of those people who actually does go through, and I like to look through the owner's manual, just so if there's a feature or something that isn't intuitive, or something that I need to know, maybe that whole section of frequently asked questions. Like, if it does this, here's a way to fix it. So I don't have to freak out. I can be like, oh yeah, I remember reading that. Well, in the U.S. Constitution, the Founding Fathers built in something called the Supremacy Clause. See, they believed in a limited, that's part of the problem of today's society and today's deep state. Our Founding Fathers believed in a very limited federal government, but they also understood that it was also the top of the food chain. They wanted to see local government, they wanted state government, but then they had a federal government, and we're still that way. We still have local elections, statewide elections, and we have national elections. The Supremacy Clause exists because the Founding Fathers started to realize we love states' rights. We want more power to the states. If you read the 10th Amendment, it literally says if it's not in the Constitution, it doesn't belong at the federal level. It belongs with the states or the people. And then someone said, but what if a state and I've used this example with my show before. What if, let's say, the state of Georgia says, we don't like the way the IRS has been operating. We think they tax too much. We think it's not a fair withdrawal the way they take money. We don't think they have a fair system. We think it punishes success and it rewards failure. The state of Georgia has decided we're not going to pay attention to the IRS anymore. We're going to create our own federal collection entity within the state, and we'll collect the federal taxes that we think are due the federal government, and we'll send them to Washington, D.C. Sounds great, doesn't it? But they can't do that. They can't because of the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause says that federal law is the highest law of the land, and you can't write a law that supplants it or eliminates it or ignores it. You can, if there's not a federal law to do something, or let's say the federal standards are weak, you as a state could create tougher laws, but you can't override federal law. In other words, federal law might say you're allowed up to an ounce of marijuana as far as federal prosecutors aren't going to go after you. But you, as the state of Georgia, might say, well, you may be allowed up to an ounce by the federal level, but we're not going to allow it at all. I mean, that's not a good example. Sorry, I have to think of a better one off the top of my head. The point being, you can't override federal law. Federal law becomes the supreme law of the land. It, no pun intended, trumps everything else. Well, maybe somebody should send a copy of the U.S. Constitution to the governor of Oregon. The governor of Oregon yesterday put out a video saying, we will arrest any ICE agents who attempt to arrest any illegals, because we don't believe in illegals. Anybody in here, anybody with ICE, anybody with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, if they're operating within the state of Oregon and they are trying to arrest people that we have given sanctuary status, we're going to arrest the federal employees. We're going to arrest ICE. They came out and said that. The governor said that. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor needs to be reminded of the Supremacy Clause. There's a reason Donald Trump has won, even in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the one that runs the left coast. Even the Ninth Circuit said if local law enforcement can't protect federal buildings or federal employees, then the president has the absolute right to deploy the National Guard with the mission of protecting federal buildings and federal employees. Even the Ninth Circuit has upheld that. What you have here, folks, are these lunatics, to be honest, who think that they've got their own kingdoms, that they've got their own fiefdoms, that they can rule as a monarch, not as part of 50 United States bound by federal law. The governor is threatening, I want you to understand this, a governor of one of our states, and governors are powerful positions in the hierarchy of governance because of states' rights. A governor is telling American employees who work for the federal government, law enforcement officers at the federal level, if you attempt to carry out your constitutionally oath-driven job, if you choose to enforce the laws of the United States of America, we will arrest you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's lunacy. That's just, how did you elect somebody like that? Or maybe you didn't know that existed in her. What do you think now? Whether you like the fact that immigrants that came here illegally, whether you like the process of deportation, guess what? That's the law. You don't have to like the law. It's still the law. And you think that you can just ignore the law? Or that you can arrest people? You can literally create out of whole cloth a brand new law. We're going to arrest people who are arresting people who are here illegally? Donald Trump addressed that. And the governor of Oregon has no idea what she just did. She's literally arguing, I don't have to listen to the federal government. I can be a country unto myself. I'll create my own laws. I'll ignore the laws of the land because I don't like them. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to talk about insurrection-y? You have a governor of a state who has just said, we'll arrest Americans to protect illegals. We're going to arrest people who have a constitutional oath and a sworn duty that they are upholding. And they have the Supremacy Clause on their side. And they're out there saying, nope, we're going to do what we want. We're little children throwing temper tantrums because we don't like the laws. And rather than fight to change the laws or repeal the laws or massage the laws, no, we're just going to ignore them. And then we're going to invent whole brand new ones where we're going to arrest federal employees. What she hasn't realized is you are literally advocating insurrection. You are literally advocating the laws of the land don't apply. We can ignore them. Donald Trump put this out in response to the governor of Oregon, saying the radical left-wing governor of Oregon, a total disaster, folks, is now threatening to lock up my incredible ICE agents, our beautiful, tough ICE agents who are doing an amazing job. Can you believe this? Nobody's ever seen anything like this before. Not in the history of our country. She didn't even get 8 million votes. Forget about 80 million. But in Oregon, they've got this vote by mail scam going on, the biggest election fraud you've ever seen. Crooked as all, rigged from top to bottom. And this phony, rigged election governor is shielding all the rapists, the drug dealers, the murderers pouring across our borders, destroying our great nation like never before. They're destroying it, folks. Believe me. She wants to handcuff our ICE heroes. But we love our ICE agents. We love them so much, they're the best. And this is the part the governor didn't plan on. So, he says, I'm invoking the Insurrection Act right now. Tremendous power, by the way. And I will be deploying the National Guard into Oregon to protect our brave, fantastic ICE warriors from these fake witch hunt arrests. We're going to make Oregon safe again. Ladies and gentlemen, if the governor or anybody tries to fight this, which you know they're going to go find an activist judge, they'll find some lower-level district judge who's going to say, you can't do that. And it's going to go right back to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit's going to say, absolutely, once again, we hate Donald. By the way, they hate. It's the most liberal. They used to call it the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals. They hate Donald Trump. But they also understand, thankfully, they still understand that they're supposed to follow the U.S. Constitution. And if the governor wants to declare war on federal law enforcement officers, that's what she's doing. Declaring war on federal law enforcement officers, then Donald Trump has every right to deploy forces to protect those very Americans employed by the federal government. Look up the Supremacy Clause. It's the way it is. Bottom of the hour. Here's GNN.
It's the best time of
nothing says the holiday season like a singing snowman to the voice of Burl Ives. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. The Vulcan Mind Meld now in full swing. BK from BK on the Air joining me. Good morning.
Good morning. I saw you just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving. That was cool to have our Thanksgiving special. We were here live for Bartow's Morning News. And
it was fun.
It was just 2 days ago. We're already back together.
I know. And now it's the Christmas season. Yay.
Together again. How we doing? Same as always. That bad, huh?
Well, yeah. Sort of for us. That's normal.
Same as usual.
Same as usual. Thanks, Han. Thanks, Luke. They were right, though. They weren't always. I mean, they got their butt kicked in the movie before that one, so yeah. It's pretty bad. So I got some Star Wars news today, believe it or not. Some Star Wars nostalgic stuff to talk about.
Okay, cool.
Regarding the holiday special.
Oh,
that was on that. Even as a kid, none of us liked very much. We're like, what is this? Well, watch it. It's Star Wars, but it's very odd. It's very odd. Something came out of it, though. Remember how we say that Star Trek, James Tiberius Kirk, how they get his middle name, and they always recognize it as canon now. It started in the animated
cartoon,
series,
yeah.
but people don't think that show is canon.
No, it is.
Well, there was something in the animated special that that people don't think the animated special was canon or anything, but something came out of it. A couple of things came out of it that does make it canon. I'll bring that up, too. So make up your mind. Is it or isn't it?
It's 100% part of the Star Trek.
Yeah.
The original, the O... What do you call it? TOS, the original series?
And
yeah,
then
Star
this
Trek
one's called
TOS.
TAS, the animated series. Yeah, you're right.
But I do think that, because, I mean, it was basically the same voice actors for the most part, and the writing was just as... In some ways, it was just as good. I mean, they did kid it down a little bit in places, but for the most part, I mean, it was a science fiction show.
It won an award. It won an Emmy Award. So I kind of think of it as the fourth season of Star Trek.
Beyonce won Grammys for doing basically nothing in the studio, but singing, but okay.
Well, that's Grammy, but this is Emmy. Does that not mean anything either?
I guess awards don't. I feel like awards used to mean something more.
It meant something in 1974. Okay,
that's why I don't watch Oscars anymore.
Me either. Yeah.
The Academy Awards.
Never do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Christmas. We had Thanksgiving is.
Are you going to include your Christmas bumps now? Is it okay?
Some bumps today. Yes, it is.
It's okay now.
It is.
You allow it.
It's the Saturday after Christmas. It certainly is.
It's Saturday after Christmas.
Thanksgiving. Saturday after Thanksgiving. I certainly will do Christmas songs.
That'd be funny. The only time I allow Christmas music, the Saturday after Christmas.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's boy, is he strict.
Well, there's an early Christmas present coming through Cartersville. There comes a train, but he's moving at a pretty good clip. So
well, the nice thing is no sound of the siren or the horn.
Or I wonder if it's okay if they come through and they have their horn set for Christmas tune to blare out a Christmas.
I like
song.
it quiet. I like it quiet. That's a few $1 million well spent of taxpayer money to just keep the quiet zone in downtown Cartersville.
But I got to warn you today. I got a fact about that's going to make you feel really old today.
No,
it's just one little thing. It's one thing regarding a baby. How old a baby will be next year. And it's from a song. I'll just leave it at that. But when I bring this up, you're just kind of you may disintegrate like like the guy does in the end of the Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade when he picks the wrong Grail. Mm-hmm. You may disintegrate like that when you hear this. It's just so I'm like, what?
Oh,
that baby is so anyway. I got a lot coming up. I don't know if I'm going to squeeze it all in, but I'm going to try.
I feel like that song. Oh no, oh no.
You will think that way when you hear this because I learned it last night and I almost passed out. So I got to go to the show. Got to do the show today. I can't pass out.
Well, don't die.
No, I don't want to die. But it really. I'm glad that I've reached this many years. We're glad that we're still pumping, right?
Well, yeah,
we're still going. But when you hear something that's a certain age or a certain anniversary and it's been that long since something happened. I kind of know how my granddad used to feel now when he would do that when I was younger. And he'd bring up something and go, really? Is it that old? So anyway.
Sounds like fun. Gee, what else do you have?
I got some more fun stuff.
We can talk about anybody who died.
Plenty of fun stuff.
We talk about anything that's like been inducted in some Hall of Fame because it's been around for generations.
Well, I got a couple of guys that did pass away.
That
has something to do with. So
thank you.
But yeah,
that's your show. Obits and old.
Right. The show today is going to be called "You and I are thankful that we're still alive." That's what
we're on the right side of the pavement.
That's right. We're thankful.
The right side of the dirt.
So. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I'm sure you did too. So.
We did. We had a Friendsgiving this year, something a little different, but it was great because it was their whole family that came in from places all throughout Georgia and Tennessee, and we know all of them. We've been friends with the family for a while, so we know all their kids, we know their husbands, we know all the extended, and it was just great. It was just. You know when you have a lot of people and you can just kind of keep moving from conversation to conversation to conversation. Next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's good. We usually have a Friendsgiving on Thanksgiving Day with friends and their extended family, and we know all of them too. But as we talked about it on Thursday, that got canceled for us, so we had to improvise Thursday. But that's usually what we do. Friends on Thursday, my parents, my mom and sister on Friday, and then on Saturday, which is today, I'll be meeting her in Dahlonega for her family. So it's 3 days of Thanksgiving. for us every
so
year.
she's already there?
She is not. She's probably on her way right now. To
Okay,
head
so
up
you,
that
when you
way,
say
yeah.
meet, so literally you'll have two vehicles.
I will drive there from here. And the drive from Cartersville to Dahlonega, it seems like I'm never going to get there. It's just all back roads. It's nice. It's back roads, but it's just a long drive up there. The drive is.
And
So-
over the last few years, you've been introduced to the many roundabouts they've been implemented.
Yes, and may I say that I love those things?
I do, too.
We should have done that. We should have imported that from England and Europe a long time ago into our traffic systems because they work wonderfully.
I don't know if Americans can handle more than 2 lanes in the roundabout. When you start putting like 6 and 7
Why
lanes,
do they get
people
confused? It's not that hard to figure out.
It's not, but people do.
If you're in the roundabout, you must wait for those people to go by. That's all you got to remember. If they're actually in it, yield to them.
You yield to the person who's already in it.
But if
If
people
it's open, you join it.
some people don't do that,
Oh.
And some of the older people get locked in it and can't get out. I've seen them circle around and around and around and around.
It's like, did you not know where your turn is?
And you know how we call things different names here than they do in England, like a vacation is a holiday there. Well, for us, a holiday is a holiday date. Put it in the trunk here is put it in the boot
Right.
over there. Well, we even do that wrong. Not everywhere here in America calls them roundabouts. They put up this sign. A lot of them that I see, it's called a traffic circle. Here, you're approaching the traffic circle. I've seen traffic circle on there a lot. And I'm like, well, it's a roundabout, right? That's what they're
Why
called.
would you
So
change the name?
It's just because we're America. I guess we have to change
Well, but I don't like that name.
it. I like roundabout.
You know,
That's what they call a Ferris wheel in England is a roundabout. It's not a merry-go-round. I'm sorry, a merry-go-round. It's called a roundabout in England.
What do they call a Ferris wheel?
I don't know. Ferris wheel, probably. A vertical roundabout, probably. That's what they call it. No, they call it a Ferris wheel. But, yeah, a roundabout is a merry-go-round in England, so, yeah.
There's this, one of my favorite holiday movies is the rom-com Love Actually. And one of the subplots, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie.
I did. I finally watched it. I
That's
told
right.
you, yeah.
So one of the subplots when the British guy realizes I'm in the wrong country, British women suck, I need to be with American women.
Right.
I always love that scene when the women are all getting so like, how do you say this over there?
Right.
Bottle. Oh, how do you say this?
Right.
This. And then he goes, how do you say this? Table. Like we do. Like
Right,
They're
yeah.
suddenly disappointed.
Yeah. They love
like
the
we call
accent.
it bottle too, but he
Yeah.
says bottle.
Yeah. That's
Oh, that always
hilarious.
kills me. I love. You know what I love about that whole subplot is they could have done something really goofy.
No, they didn't go the way I thought it. When I first saw it, I'm like, they're going to kill him. Or they're going to
gonna-
rob him and leave him
right,
out in the
they're gonna-
snow.
they're gonna take advantage
I
of his
thought
innocence.
That was going to happen, and they fooled
And
me.
then instead, they kind of put a little poke at American women and American, like, well, the British are too stuck up to go sleep with this guy. These women are like, well, his accent, I'll take him
Right.
home right now. I'll put him on a
Right.
plate and sop him up with a biscuit.
Well, face it, you're that way with British women, right?
Oh, 100%. My
Don't you love
wife
the
is like,
accent?
every time I'm in the car, it's like I've got Captain, what's her name? I've got, what's her name? From the Marvel.
Agent Carter?
Agent Carter.
Yeah.
There we go. I have. It sounds like Agent Carter giving me directions in the car. I've got it set for the
That's-
British female voice.
That's what my Siri's set for, too. So Agent Peggy Carter's telling me where to go.
And what's funny is sometimes like it knows a British word, and so it'll pronounce it properly. But then like the word like you Harley Road, it's
Right.
like, turn left on you Hurley.
Wrong. It's
You Hurley.
Yeah. I don't care. I
Turn
keep it.
Turn onto Elizabeth Hurley, sure, but you Hurley, no.
I keep it set for that. I don't care about those little
Yeah,
inconsistencies.
I don't mind that at
It's
all.
fine.
I think it's great.
We're terrible.
Merge
We're
right.
terrible.
Stay in the left lane.
What do you want for Christmas this year?
And I'm just like, just keep talking to me. Just keep talking.
So I told Stacy. She goes, "What do you want this year?" I don't even know what you want. I'm like, "Speak with a British accent all holiday." That's all I
Yeah,
ask.
just be Agent
okay.
Carter.
Just be Agent
Actually, can you dress like her too? Can I
Yeah,
just
go
get
ahead.
you? We'll just do some
Sure, go
cosplaying.
ahead. She's. I hear she's in Avengers Doomsday as Agent Carter, or possibly the other world version where she became Captain America or Captain Carter rather.
Captain
in
Carter,
the
right.
other universe. So we'll see. There's a whole lot of rumors coming out about all that on the horizon. So.
Ought to be fun.
I hope it is, and I hope it doesn't collapse under its own weight because I think they have a cast list about 49.
There's a
So I'm
lot
like,
of
come on, it's
personalities
two movies
to
go.
balance.
Yeah. So anyway,
All right, well, we got to take our final break. We'll come back with some more nostalgic fun talk. This is our bridge from one show to the other. I get a chance to unwind from some of the heavier news and head more toward the news of the weird, the strange, the bizarre, the nostalgic, the geeky. That's what BK's all about. And I get to have some fun with him where he takes over from 10 to noon. So stick around.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do. Don't want a doll, no dinky tinker toy. I want a hippopotamus to play with and enjoy.
Welcome back, everybody. Boy, I have several versions of this song on my playlist, but this one by Gayla Peavy, the original, when I was a kid, listen to this. And for some reason, I always thought it sounded like Alfalfa singing it. I can't explain why, but from the Little Rascals, for those of you who are a little younger, and you're like, what are you talking about, Alfalfa? Isn't that like something we put on our salad? No, it was the name of the kid with the little hair that wouldn't stick down, but he loved the lard to put the rest of it down. Did you ever see that scene when he goes up and grabs the lard off the shelf, and he puts his own hair down with it? Like, oh!
And the Little Rascals is where I learned that Limburger cheese smelled horrible. I'd never heard of it. But I'm like, oh, why are you eating it? They always use it. They put it on there. They mistakenly put it on his chest, thought it was the vapor rub, and put it on his chest when he had a cold, and it was Limburger cheese, and it was terrible. See, those are timeless. My nephew still watched those.
I learned it from Bugs Bunny, because it always had green gas floating off of it.
Green? That meant it stunk.
It's like, oh, God, what is that?
Yes, good stuff.
And I realized Pepe Le Pew didn't realize he stunk.
He didn't know.
He didn't
but
know,
the cat's trying to get away from him the whole time.
Mon ami, mon chéri. Oh, playing hard to get, I see.
Well, Stacy did that when I first dated her. You know, it's like, what's wrong? Come here. It's okay. And we wound up getting married. It's okay.
You broke her.
I broke her. Yeah.
At some point, she's like, I just give up.
I don't care. Just shut up.
If I marry you, will you just leave me alone?
Shut
okay.
you up.
Yeah, sure.
That's a joke. I did not stink.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Yes, especially if they're stinky.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Waking Up with Alan. We are in the final segment of the final Saturday of November.
Wow.
BK, we are 2 days away from December.
Another one. Another holiday season is here. I mean, I remember last year's vividly. I mean, like, I did almost exactly what I'm going to do this year. So, the same places. I'll visit the same places and do the same thing. It's just a routine. But it's holiday.
But we also talked about on Thanksgiving itself that some of our traditions we've had to update and kind of massage a little bit as well. And you need to be open to that because the last thing, and kind of recapping what we talked about on Thanksgiving, the last thing my wife and I wanted to do was put our kids through family turmoil of having to choose who to spend time with or who gets priority. It's like, look, it's all family. It's all important.
Yep.
If we have to split days or put something on a different day, there's nothing wrong with that.
Did you know that we have a stocking on our mantle over the fireplace for our dog?
Well, good. Our dogs all
love that.
Our dogs all get little stockings full of doggy
isn't
treats.
That great?
Or doggy toys.
Yep.
Doggy stuff.
Like, you got a stocking for your dog? Why? I'm like, why not? Why would you not have one? I'm of a different thought process.
I was asked yesterday, did we do any Black Friday shopping? Like, my wife actually took care of all the shopping pretty much beforehand because there were so many Black Friday deals well before yesterday. But I said the only thing she got up early for, which she does every year, and shout out to our local sports store, the Academy Sports, they always have giant dog beds on sale for a really good price.
Because you have to replace those quite often.
I do. Over the course of the year, they just get to the point where it's just spend $20 on a brand new one rather than just keep one that looks like it's been used for the last year by a dog.
Right.
Dogs don't really pay attention. They'll sleep in a stinky bed. They'll jump into
sleep
muddy.
on the floor.
They'll sleep on the floor.
But
well, if you have the pillows, they like the pillows. They do like the beds.
We don't want them to lay on the cold floor because we love our dogs.
So I saw when I walked in Friday from doing the morning show, I was like, oh, look, new dog beds.
Wow.
So we did do some Black Friday shopping. We just wanted to make sure we took care of our puppies.
Mine does sniff the new one, though. She'll get the new one and go, what's this? This is new. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Walk on it a little bit. Okay, lays down. That's it. Okay, I get what it is.
Well, it's since we have 5 technically because Sophie's with us and so her dog's with us most of the time. The first dog that lays in the bed that does the whole thing, does a little sniff, kind of sift around. Yeah. But as soon as they get up, the other dog goes, well, you're already sleeping there. I'm going to go take the spot now. You got up. And you just can smell there was another dog here and just goes right down and boom.
Yep. No, wait, you have how many dogs?
5.
You have 5 dogs. Why do you have 6 dog bowls? Oh, that one's for you. I forget.
No.
You have
Ironically,
6.
we have 10 dog bowls because one's for water, one's for food.
No, you have 11.
No.
What's the left that one for?
No, but I do have a doghouse. It's not for the dogs.
But didn't yours have like a TV and little air conditioning in it and everything?
Actually, we call it the goat barn now, but
goat barn.
But basically, yeah, guys, move over. Big old dog's moving in.
Thank you, George.
I apparently said the wrong thing again.
Oh, that's when you need to fix it up like that.
Actually, what I did is I said something that triggered the cavalcade or the avalanche of all the things I've ever also done wrong in the last 20 years.
Okay, yeah.
Which amplifies the tiny thing into a much bigger thing.
Okay. It's the holidays, though.
It's a magnifying glass, if you will. I'm like the ant walking across the floor, but when you look at it through a magnifying glass, it's like Godzilla came through. And
it's magnified, yeah. That's my wife's hearing at night. There could be a thunderstorm, a tornado, an earthquake, and there has been, in the middle of the night. None of that will wake her up. None of it. But if I get up and walk across the carpet at night and I don't even step, I'm like an ice skater. I'll slide to the bathroom. Slide, and I'm like, okay. And she's like, what are you doing up? I'm like, how do you do that? You must have a mutant ability to detect that, but not a thunderstorm, which is 20 billion times louder.
Are you just now coming to bed? No, I was in bed. I'm going to the bathroom.
My wife is unaffected by nature. Nature sounds do not bother her.
That's wild.
It's very weird. It is wild. But I'll put up with it. There's nothing I can do about it. So, yeah. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, this is our show to close off November. And, of course, those folks of you who are listening to our Thanksgiving show, that's up on the it's not on the podcast because that one was just the news. But these will be out on the podcast later. So that way, what are you going to be doing on your show a little bit later?
Well,
I say a little bit later in like 5 minutes.
We'll have some Christmas bumps. I do have some Christmas stories related holiday stuff. I got some Thanksgiving leftovers that I want to talk about and share a little bit of information about Thursday and some other Thanksgiving things that I didn't get to do last Saturday. And we got to squeeze some of it in on Bartow's Morning News on Thursday, so I'm glad you allowed me to pop in here and be a part of that. That was fun to do. And we'll flash the audience. I got some nice flash the audience things on this day in history. There's some great on this day in histories today. And one little fact I told you about that's going to make you feel old that technically won't happen until next year, but it's getting close to 2026. So I got to share this with you. I just like to do it to see your look on your face when we do it because it's the same look I get when I first heard it.
Well, can I tell you what I realized and you realize how many years have passed because I was alive for the bicentennial.
Yes, I was too. Yeah, I remember that. And a lot of TV
we're
shows
coming
did
up
it.
to the 250-year birthday, which means I was around 50 years ago for the bicentennial.
Yeah. And do you remember all the things? Some of the CBS network would do something called a bicentennial minute. They'd come on and give you a fact about the bicentennial.
Well, for where I lived, it felt like the whole year was leading up to it, or at least the whole 6 months leading, or 7, I guess. The whole first half of the year was like, it's bicentennial. I graduated kindergarten, and we all had to dress red, white, and blue. And I had white pants, typical 70s. I had white pants that my mom had sewed blue and red stars. I looked like a miniature Evel Knievel.
And I was a little older than you during the bicentennial. I was 10. So I was a little older, and I remember it. I think I was in 5th grade, fifth grade, 4th or 5th. So I was still in elementary school, but I do remember it.
I was 5, going to turn 6 that year.
You were that little tyke I could have come up and say, "Hey, Alan, what you doing, buddy?"
I was 5 years old, and I was in kindergarten.
The ice cream truck's coming around. You want anything?
My mommy won't do that. She says she can make it better and cheaper at home.
Did you really sound like Elmo when you were a kid?
No, I don't know what I sounded like. I wish I had a recording because all the videos we had were all made with a Super 8 camera.
They were silent, right?
They were all silent.
Well, see, even you had at least that. I didn't even have that. I wish
your dad didn't have like that monstrous spotlight that would burn the retinas out of your eyes when trying to film you on Christmas morning.
That cost money, and we never had enough S&H green stamps to get one of those. I don't think we filled enough books up to get one of those. We had to get one of those. That's the only way we would have gotten it. But the kids today don't know how good they got it. They tape everything they do. They record everything, and we don't have any of that. I hate that.
We have plenty of, and we should probably at some point pay to just have all those Super 8s transferred.
It might fade out.
We don't have any. I don't have any recording. I have no idea what I sounded like as a kid.
Well, I'm glad I took one video recording of my dad in the kitchen at my sister's house because he's no longer with us, and I do have that one little recording of him talking. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, so that's all I got. I wish I'd saved the voicemails from him too. That would have been nice. But who thinks that's going to happen?
You don't even think about it.
You don't know.
And unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
That's right.
Well, BK, I'm going to fade our show out so we can put it up to the Broadcast Hall of Fame and get ready for your show after a Fox News update.
I'll bring as much fun as I can.
Awesome. Folks, thank you so much for being there, being in the listening audience. I always appreciate you. I said that in my Thanksgiving show, the Thanksgiving Eve. Of all the things I'm thankful for, I am very thankful for you being out there listening to WBHF, listening to the Alan Sanders Show. Take care, everybody. Coming up, top of the hour, 10 o'clock, WBHF Cartersville, time for Fox News.
Rum, bum, bum, bum.